Nurmagomedov, of which I will not be repeating for the rest of this piece. I'm going to call him by his nickname, Bullet. And Daniel Cormier renamed him something like Shara Bullet instead of Shara Nurmagomedov. I like it. By the way, I like Shara Bullet. So it doesn't come with a disrespect. I'd like to share that with you. So something's happening there. When this guy comes on TV, something's happening. As soon as I see him, as soon as I see his face, whether it turns into an interview or a fist fight, this is a Hollywood character. I mean, it really is a guy that could come straight out of the movies. In fact, I'm told he's did his training camp in LA because he's in LA doing a movie. He plays like a security guard at a rental car store or something like that, but then in the evenings he's an assassin. And it's like, yeah, I don't know anything else, but I see it. I mean, there's something there. Now, while I'm looking at him, I'm looking at his fancy spots. I'm looking at the fact that Daniel Cormier is giving him cute little nicknames. I'm looking at his record, which is unbeaten. And I'm juxtaposing that against his skills, which appear to be somewhat limited. Like, it really does throw you off when you got this Dagestani guy, but he's the kickboxer, or he's not a wrestler. I was like, well, you must have wrestled at some point. Like, we have the wrestlers, and they know how to kickbox. So you got this kickboxer, he must know how to wrestle, but he doesn't. Now, I think it makes him interesting. I feel like something's happening. And he's not the first guy that had to learn on the job. Do you want to know who wasn't ready for this? Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya's very first fight was with Marvin Vettori. Now, Marvin is tougher than hell. But he showed us if you get Izzy down, which isn't all that hard to do, you can keep him there. And Michael Bisping was calling the fight. And Michael Bisping, who's a Hall of Famer in that weight class, said it's very clear how to beat him. It's very clear what you need to do. He was critical, and he was tough, and he was right. And Adesanya comes back in his next fight. All of a sudden, he can still take him down fairly easily, but you couldn't keep him there. That was the game that he made. It was one thing. He didn't fix everything at once. He fixed one thing. And his next fight, he's in with his toughest opponent yet, which was Derek Brunson. Easily his best wrestler. And Brunson never even got him down. So Adesanya went from take him down, hold him down, to you can't hold him down, to all of a sudden you can't take him down. And then all of a sudden is down the road, he's scrambling, he's coming up from Kelvin Gastelum, he's throwing up triangles himself. I mean, it's one of these things, but we watch him learn on the fly. I'm not certain that we haven't done that same thing with Alex Pereira. Like, as I look at Bullet, guys, and I realize he's rough. He's rough. This isn't where I would think a guy with that kind of a record, this kind of a look, a natural fighter. Like, there's only a few guys you meet that look like cage fighters. Like, I don't really know what that means, cage fighter. But if I was assigned and I had to put a face with it, Robbie Lawler would probably be the greatest face in history, but that's what a cage fighter looks like. And then, you know, I might, if Lawler was Matt Brown would be a great one. But Bullet would be a great one. And I think Paddy the Baddy's a fine example. I feel like Paddy the Baddy was a regional fighter. He's a guy, he's got some good quips. You got to geographically, you got to keep him in one location. You can sell some local tickets, don't main event him, but put him in a little bit of a feature match. You're going to squeeze that for about 3 years. He's going to pan out of the business. And how wrong was that? Paddy just kept getting better. Paddy's now 2 fights away. They got to be the right fights, but 2 fights away from fighting for the world championship. Israel Adesanya went on to win the world championship. He had a debut that Michael Bisping, who is standardly not critical, not live, was critical. As a former champion, he was able to look at this guy and say, and he went, Adesanya wins to the world championship. The example of Pereira, who's now the world champion. And I'm just sharing with you, like, I'm not convinced the Bullet quite has the weaknesses that we suspect. I'm not convinced of that. There are certain guys that will do what they need to do to win and nothing more. Yoel Romero might be the finest example. And you guys saw it in fight. Yoel would lose the first round. He'd only work as hard as he had to in the second round. If time's ticking down in the third, he'll go on a sprint and he'll TKO you. He'll get you out of there. He was saving that energy. He was planning to do that the whole time. Just a matter of when is he going to go on this sprint. Yoel would do wrestling matches. I've been following him since he was 19 years old. He would do wrestling matches, part of the Cuban national team, and he would take on guys that were okay. I'm going to call them JV guys, just because it's a word that you know. But he would take on a JV guy, and he would beat him by 1 or 2 points. And then his next match would be against a world medalist. You go, well, I know he can't deal with the world medalist. He barely got past that JV guy. And then he'll beat the world medalist by 1 or 2 points. And you start to realize, oh, he's only doing what he has to. He's not going to do any more, and he's not going to show anymore. And I feel as though there's a chance the Bullet's doing that. I feel as though if the competition raised up to where you are sure, oh, no, he can't deal with this guy. I know that because I've seen other fights, and I see him with a deficit in this position. I'm not certain that there isn't a bit of a rope-a-dope going on with him, much like the Yoel Romero example. And the Bullet did something that was very good. He called out Nick Diaz. Now, he's not likely to get the fight with Nick Diaz. He's not likely. But it's not impossible. I mean, it sounds a lot like Nick's comeback could be just that, just a fight, a match. And if you're going to do that, you would see where a promoter wouldn't mind shining up a different guy. I don't know where that Luque business as it relates to Diaz is. I don't know. I haven't heard. The fight was supposed to go down this weekend. It gets pulled. I thought it would get replaced at the Sphere. It didn't. I don't know what's going on there. And I'm not telling you that I think that the Bullet's got some traction with Diaz, with Nick Diaz. I believe Nick is going to fight with Luque. But the Bullet did something else with that call-out. He's letting us know where he's at. He's letting us know, hey, get all the headlines, and I get all the posters, I get this huge reception, I got this quite a fan base, I got a beautiful record, but I'm not make-believing that I'm a top guy. I'm not make-believing that I should be in there with Robert Whittaker, for example. So, I liked it. I thought he had a very good performance, all things considered, and I think he then pulled down expectations, which, by the way, it felt like it rised him. It seemed like everything was right there. And what's next and who's next? It's the whole reason I am coming to you guys. I want you to leave me comments. I want you to tell me down below. Who should he be in there with? Who do you want to see him with? Where is his star potential? Can you place him in a feature match opposite an opponent that you haven't heard of? Because every now and then you can. Every now and then you can do that with a guy. And the Bullet, to me, seems like the right type of guy.